it's a quick masterclass. I've been building products for the last like 8 years, and I figured out a bunch of like ways where you can build products and not like, be in failure mode, where like you build something and it doesn't work, right? So one of the biggest things is how to finding like who to sell to and why. This is if you've heard of like niching down. That's kind of like what this is, but everybody tells you to like niche down, but nobody tells you like how to do it. Like what are the steps you need to do? So I'm going to explain what those actual steps are, okay? So here, the thing is like if you don't have a niche, you can't like really position your product. So let's say you build a note taker app. Are you a faster note taker, a more beautiful one, or like are you more privacy focused? You can't be all three. You got to pick one, right? But if you don't know who you're selling to, you actually can't like make a decision, because like you're just like kind of like throwing a dart on the board. Your marketing is diluted. What I mean by that is actually at the bottom, it actually makes a little bit more sense if you look at the bottom. So the bottom shows like what kind of, if you build a product, you might have like these kind of people using your product, right? So there is like somebody who's a salesperson at like IBM or Apple, big tech company, somebody who's like, running a doctor's clinic, somebody who's a side hustler, somebody who's like a Series A, like a startup, or like is a food influencer, right? They're all using your product. The issue is they're all different people. So if you were say, let's do a marketing campaign, what do? You can't really do anything, because if you build a marketing campaign for doctors' clinics, you might be like, okay, well, the side hustler is not gonna like that, obviously, or the influencer is not gonna like that, right? But then again, if you like made a campaign for a food influencer, a salesperson might not like that. So like, it's a real like horrible problem. You can't really expand your product and get more users. And last one is, this is like the reason why you can't find more users, because of this problem. Everybody's kind of using your product, and so you don't know how to like find more of them. This kind of happened to me as well. So I built a product called Carousel Studio. The short pitch for that is it helps you create social media carousels on Instagram. So if you've seen like 10 reasons why you should be doing XYZ, those kind of carousels that you can swipe over, that's the product that I have. When I launched this, I launched it about like 2 years ago. I had 0 customers on month 1. Month 8, I had 0 customers. Month 12, I had 0 customers. And then like just recently, now I have 300 paying customers. And the thing that happened between like almost like month 8 and 12, that's the framework that I'm gonna talk about that like helped me get to the 300. Okay, so here's what happened. Month 1, the app was for everybody. So again, if I'm building a carousel, like a social media app, a doctor's clinic could use it, like a food influencer could use it. And that's what I was doing. I was selling to everybody. In fact, I made a LinkedIn post and it looks like, hey, here's my product. Build an authentic personal brand with this product, whatever. This is what it is. Go use it, right? What ends up happening is everybody that's following me, they're gonna jump on, and I'm gonna have a mix of what I was showing before, which is like that. So, salespeople are using it, maybe doctors are using it, whatever. And so that was like month number 1. So I was selling it, I had some sales, but I didn't know what I was doing. Then month 8, I saw that influencers specifically that were buying the app, they weren't using it. So I stopped selling to them completely, okay? Then in month 12, I noticed that initially the product was for LinkedIn users, but a lot more people were Instagram users. They were like using it for Instagram. And when I had that hunch, this is still like people are paying me nothing. I actually ran a little survey. I put this question in the support request form, like Google form. If there's something wrong with the app, you send it to me. And then I put up options I only used to have LinkedIn, and I just said, let me just put in more options like Instagram, LinkedIn, TikTok, Facebook, Canva, Pinterest. I just like made a bunch of options. 86% of people were using Instagram, and I didn't know that. Right? So now that I knew that people are creating these social media carousels for Instagram, the whole strategy changed. And then I was able to like build a product specifically only for Instagram people, and that led to like 300 paying customers. So yeah, not only, by the way, they were Instagram users. When I looked at them further, they were specifically female users that quit their full-time job and were doing a side hustle. So they were like, hey, I used to be a salesperson at Apple or IBM, and I want to quit that job. I want to be my own boss. and I'm using IG as a way to get my clients. That's who it was. So once I figured that out, then I started like marketing to them, and I'm gonna like talk about this tomorrow, which is like how to do TikTok marketing, but I did that. So then because I knew who the person I wanted to get was, I could hire. So she, like, you know, she's a middle-aged woman, and they, you know, like coffee, they like aesthetics. So I was able to do all of that into these TikTok videos because I knew who the customer was. But of course, this marketing strategy wouldn't work for a doctor's clinic, right? Or somebody who is like a CEO of a company. It only works because I know who my customer type is, which is this person here. And, you know, they're feminine, they want to quit their job, they are finding a customer on on Instagram versus LinkedIn. That's the insight that I found that led me to the 300 paying customers. And, you know, it goes from, again, 0 when I was selling to everybody. Then I stopped working with influencers, or like people, like influencers couldn't pay me. At this point, I figured out that, hey, people don't want LinkedIn, they want Instagram instead. And then that's when I was like, okay, you know, why are they on Instagram? Okay, these are the female users that want to quit their job and then, you know, build a side hustle. That's who the person is that I need to like target, right? We went from like, I think my app is for everybody, which like a carousel maker is for everybody, but really the money I started making money like here, and that's where you need to get to. Now, that portion, actually nobody teaches you how to do that, and it took me like 2 years to figure that out. Here's how you can do it. I call this framework the Golden Goose Method, okay? The way it works is this. So let's say, so this is like, at the top is like your first run. As in, you have a product, you don't really know who to sell it to, you kind of sell it to everybody, okay? So you sell it to everybody, and you learn that there is one particular type of person that's using it way more than the other ones. Right, so that's your like golden goose. Don't worry, it's a duck, I know, but assume that that's a golden goose, right? So say that this person is like Robert, right? Now your job actually becomes to like get rid of these people and find 5 more Roberts. Okay, so then you go out and then you find 5 more Roberts. So in these 5 more Roberts, you might figure out that like, again, like this kind of person is actually much more like they're willing to pay for your app and they're like sharing it around to people. And the rest are like occasionally doing that. Like there's one person that like really loves it a lot, the rest don't really. Then you take that person, your job becomes find more of that people. Okay, and then you go and do that. And at some point at the end, you'll find that you will end up with something like the end. Right, that's kind of like what I did. So first I was selling to everybody. Then I started being like, I don't think this influencer people are my golden duck. So I removed them. Then I figured out that the people that were like using my app the most weren't LinkedIn users. They were like IG users. Then I found more IG users. And then when I did that, I figured out that they're mostly female and they're like quitting their full-time job and starting a side hustle, right? So you basically want to run this process over and over again until you get to a point where everybody that you talk to is like purely obsessed with your app. Here's an actual practical example of what this looks like. So here's an example, okay? So again, I'm gonna go back to like my carousel app, and I sold it to all these 5 different kind of people, right? And what I figured out that this side hustler person, not the doctor's clinic, not the founder, this side hustler person was like creating a lot of carousels. They were coming to the app, you know, making another carousel, another carousel, another carousel. They're like fine paying me as well. But the other ones are maybe paying, but like they're not really using, they're not logging in every day, right? So then, okay, I'm like, let me just take this side hustler person. Let's find 5 more of these people. Let's call that person like Robert. Let's find 5 more Roberts, right? So once I did that, you might come across something like this, which is, okay, so people that you're selling to now are side hustlers, but maybe they're like, they have a barbershop down the street. Maybe they're like it's like a 20-year-old who's selling stuff on Amazon. Maybe it's like a person that's like, I'm gonna run like a summer school, like kids soccer kind of thing. Or the sort of person, and then last person might be that, okay, this person quit their job and then, you know, they're trying to be a creator. So all these people. In these people now, again, you run the same exercise. Like, who is the person that's like using it the most? And it might be the person at the end, let's call her Emma. your job becomes to find 5 more Emmas. Okay, so the minute I did that, then you can see what it looks like here. Then you get into this thing like, okay, so she's like a female and she's selling like e-commerce items on Instagram, or she's a female and doing like life coaching on Instagram. And then so now I'm there. That is super specific. In fact, it's actually this specific. So when I got on calls with these people, I figured out that she's from, like, my ICP is 30 to 45-year-old. She's leaving her corporate job to start her own side hustle. Now, because she's in this state of mind, she has to now create social media carousels on Instagram because that's how she's gonna find clients. But she doesn't know how to do any graphics editing. So then she pays for Canva. She pays for Canva, does it like a couple of different times, like creating a carousel. It's very manual. She's looking for an automated solution. So yeah, she values that like the carousel making should be done quickly. And then she also like follows TikTok trends religiously. She uses these beauty products. She loves this person's music, right? Like that's specific. Because I know this stuff, now I can like start paying influencers to like make this kind of content to reach that person, right? That's how specific I have to be. So like for example, like I think we've created like 70 to 80 different TikTok videos in the last month and a half, and we're using like Stranger Things music in the background or like Taylor Swift music in the background because it speaks to the person that I want to market to.